Hello, and thanks for joining me today as we continue our discussion on the urinary system. Today we're looking at kidneys specifically. So we're going to talk about kidney anatomy. With that, so the goals today is for you to be able to describe functions of the kidney. They have numerous functions, the most important being urine production. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about parts of the kidney, regions of the kidney, and then we'll talk about the medulla and the cortex of the kidney, which are the two main regions, and we'll talk about kind of what they do and how they work. So for starters, we talked about this in the previous section, but your kidney is located in the posterior wall of the abdominal cavity. This is called your retroperitoneal space. So behind all of your organs, behind your gut, your stomach, your intestines, all that is your kidneys. It is held in place by renal fascia, which is connective tissue. So they don't slide around because of that. There's adipose tissue, providing a little cushion. Adipose again means fat. So that's kind of your protective layer. And then they're protected on the outside. You see over here these structures off to the side. These are ribs. And so they're protected partially by the lower portion of your rib cage. But those are your kidneys. Hey, again, here's another view. You notice your kidneys are behind the ribs back here. So you do have some protection. There's a piece that sticks out on the bottom, so they're not fully protected, but there's a little bit of protection there from those ribs, which is nice to have. Okay, here is a view from inside of a person. And so you see these two large structures here are kidneys on either side. And then these tubes coming down off of them are your ureters, which go down to this is your urinary bladder there. Okay, so all of that is connected. And kind of showing you what it looks like on an actual person. Okay, some functions of your kidney. Primary function is to excrete nitrogenous waste from the body. This nitrogenous waste, being waste that contains nitrogen, come in three main forms: urea, ammonia, and creatinine. There should be an E in there, so it should be creatinine. But those are the three main nitrogenous waste in your body that you need to get rid of. Okay. Other functions that they do is they regulate. That was bad. They regulate your blood volume. They regulate your electrolytes. Again, electrolytes are substances that can conduct electricity when dissolved in water. Things like calcium, sodium, potassium, all those are electrolytes when put in water. They regulate your pH balance. So your blood has a certain pH it wants to stay at. Your kidneys work to control that. They regulate your blood pressure. So when you have blood pressure issues, that is a kidney function regarding hormones. So they secrete this hormone called renin. That regulates your blood pressure. And then they also control red blood cell production. So we talked about red blood cells are produced in your red marrow. They are produced when this hormone called erythropoietin is secreted, and that's secreted by your kidneys. Okay, anatomically, your kidneys have a functional unit, something that helps them to do their job and allows them to do their job, and that unit is called a nephron. There are approximately 1 million nephrons in a kidney. You have two kidneys, so you have roughly 2 million nephrons in your body. The two main components to this are your tubular component and your vascular component. We'll talk about those. And then they're found in or work with the three regions. So you have your cortex, which is the outer region. The medulla is the inner kidney. And your renal pelvis, we'll talk about later on. That's where your urine gets collected at. Okay, so your tubules. This is your tubular component. Happens in the or is found in the cortex of the kidney. So you see off to this side, we have the cortex here. You have your proximal tubule, your distal tubule, and your glomerulus. Your glomerulus is called Bowman's capsule or glomerular capsule. And this is just a big cluster of capillaries. And what happens is a red blood cell gets pushed into one of these capillaries, and they are so small that only one red blood cell can pass through at a time. And it squeezes all of the fluids out of the blood, out of the capillaries. Okay? And so it goes from this glomerular capsule, this cluster of kidneys, and that fluid is then going to enter what's called the proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal being first, convoluted being twisted, tubule being a tube. So if you look up here, this proximal tubule has a lot of twists and turns to it. Okay, and eventually it goes down. You see this arrow going down this way. And this is called your loop of Henle, which goes from the cortex into the medulla of the kidney, which is really important. So we'll talk about what happens here in a second. But then when it comes back, it enters what's called your distal convoluted tubule. So distal being farther from the attachment site, convoluted being twisted, tubule being a tube. And last but not least, it goes into your collecting duct where your urine is formed and then expelled from the body. All right, so that is your tubular, the renal, or your renal tubules. That's kind of your entire kidney function there. Okay, we talked about the cortex previously, but this cortex, the outer portion, is lighter in color. It's the outside region of the kidney. It contains this thing called Bowman's capsule, which again is where those capillaries come in and get squeezed down to a single red blood cell, and all of the fluids get pushed out. It's a C-shaped capsule surrounding the glomerulus or those capillaries. Okay. The cortex also houses, again, your proximal and distal convoluted tubules. So those tubes that are running around are in the cortex, and that all happens in that region. Okay. Your medulla is a darker region located on the inner portion of the kidney. It's got a triangular structure, and we call these pyramids, actually. So these are called renal pyramids, which form your medulla. They're kind of like upside down triangles. See, these are cone-shaped regions. These are your pyramids. They're separated by these things called renal columns. That's this piece here, right in the middle. And so this is where the cortex actually extends down, forming these renal columns. And the pyramids point towards this middle portion, which is called your renal pelvis. So this here is called your renal pelvis. And that is where your urine is eventually collected. Okay, so again, urine is collected in the pelvis. It forms the upper end of your ureter. So down here you see this is your ureter, which comes right up into the your renal pelvis. So upper end of ureter is there. Your calyces, or a calyx, are the edges. So these edges here are called calyces, as plural. Calyx is singular. So these function to collect the urine from a specific pyramid and bring it down to the pelvis, which then flows into the ureter. Okay, that is your renal pelvis. Here's a look at the kidney. You see the darker region, your renal medulla, is darker here. Much darker than this outside portion called the cortex. The cortex is right there. Okay, we also have, over here's your minor calyx. So one of these is a single calyx. Your pelvis is this middle structure here, shown this way. You have a major calyx, which just collects from multiple medulla. The renal column is extended down this way, but this is an actual anatomical kidney instead of a drawing. It gives you a better feel for what they look like in your body. Okay, here is a chance for you to review parts of the kidney. So first question, what is the functional unit of a kidney? What are the three? Name three functions. It has many, name three of them. The inner region has a name, what's it called? Outer region has a name, what's it called? And then last but not least, where is urine collected? See if you can answer those. If you have questions, please come see me or send me an email, and we'll get things squared away. I look forward to working through the rest of this unit with you, and I will see you next time.